Hello, I'm Vic Johnson. I'm here this afternoon with superstar Denis Waitley, the 2004 Jim Rohn Weekend event. Thank you for being with us and sharing a little bit. Denis, I wanted to ask you to expand a little bit on this morning's talk over in the room next door. You were just outstanding on purpose, vision, and goals.
Right.
And I know you talked about how to tie other people into your vision. And how do you get people on board, so to speak, with your vision?
I think the main thing is to make it seem like it's their vision. The only way I've ever had other people buy into what I do is show so much interest in what they're doing that they end up talking more about what they're doing, and they think I'm a great communicator because I'm listening and paying attention to them. And I found that by showing real interest in what their main turn-ons are, that makes them bond with me because they know that I'm interested in them first before they show interest in me. So by showing interest in other people, their imagination, their goals, their desires, they actually think that I'm going to be a steward for them, and I mean that sincerely. I will. So I always say, what can I do for you, before I ever say, what can you do for me?
Where do I find them at? If I want, I've got this dream, this vision to do something, where would I go out and find? If I were Jeff Bezos and I were starting Amazon today, where would I go find people to help me start the world's largest online store? Or any big dream, where would I start?
Well, I think one of the things you have to do is you need to hang around with other entrepreneurs. So if you're going to be an online store like Amazon, you got to hang around the library and the bookstores. And you have to see what they're doing in the bookstores, what's selling, how they're putting them up front, how they're merchandising them. I didn't realize, for example, that they do it alphabetically. And therefore, if your name is Covey, you're in the C's about eye level, and if your name is Waitley, you're at the bottom on the floor. So sometimes I have to take my book and move it up. But what I've decided to do is hang around with people who are really doing things in life. And I think attending programs like the Jim Rohn Weekend and going on your websites and really, if you will, becoming a student of entrepreneurs who are teaching, and it rubs off on you. And the next thing you know, there are mastermind groups that develop, and you start hanging around with people who have the same ideas. One of the worst things you can do is hang around with people with similar problems. Because even though it's comfortable, even though it's almost like the gang. I'd rather hang around with people more successful than me. So if you're going to be a good golfer, always play with people who are better than you. And even though you're not going to do as well, you're going to learn more. So go to success programs as much as you can.
So it's true what my mother said, birds of a feather flock together.
They do. They do indeed. And you shall know them by their works, and they hang around together. No question. That's why I've always tried to, even when I was young, I used to go to these type of programs, and I would sit in the back of the arena.
Right.
And I would say, I shouldn't say this, but I think I could do that. And you get obsessed with it, and that's how we can maybe get into the thing on purpose. I think there's really a way to find out what your purpose in life is.
Right. Well, I know that, a lot of people come to me and they ask me that, how do I find my purpose? I'm a person, I've got something inside of me that's got to come out, but I don't know what it is. How do I find my purpose in life? What do I do? What's a process I could go through?
Well, the first thing you should do is dust off your childhood. And that's really important. I've been studying that for so many years now, age 5 to 15. You begin to decide to think and know about yourself when you're about 5, and you develop some interests. And there's been a BBC video that was called 7 Up. And they took 50 children age 7, and they monitored them and did videos of them every 7 years. The first one was 7, then 14, 21, 28, 35, 42. And they found that what the kids were showing signs of being good at when they were 7 through 14, and then somehow they got off track because they got into peer pressure and adult pressure and professor pressure, and they began to go in the direction that people were telling them they should go in, getting away from what their talents were. So the first thing you need to do is do a childhood audit. What did I like to do from 5 to 15? What was a real turn-on for me? Interestingly enough, when I was a kid, I sang and talked for cookies.
Oh, really?
And I went house to house, and I figured that if I could sing a song or say something funny, they'd give me a cookie. And I say, there must be something in there somewhere. gave it up completely, realizing that I did like to talk, I like to read, I like words. So you end up being a nuclear weapons delivery pilot. You end up going to a military academy. You end up fighting for your country. But instead of being a defender of people, I wanted to be a developer of people. And I found that what I loved to do when I was a little boy is what my purpose ended up being when I was a grown man. But it took me until I was in my 40s to make that full circle transition. So what do you like to do in your spare time? There's a talent in there somewhere. What do you like to do? What your purpose in life often is hidden in what you love to do. And if you can take what you love to do and what you do well and extend that into a career, or even if it becomes your service hobby, maybe you earn money another way, but you get your real kicks out of life doing this thing you love, and therein lies your purpose, because God-given talents need to be directed in some way that just really turns you on. I mean, I can hardly wait to wake up. Yeah. I haven't been to work in 30 years, yeah. And neither has a scientist, and neither has a pro golfer. Well, they hit a bucket of balls, and Lee Trevino said, you know, as long as they're daylight, there are golf balls to be hit, and you get blisters on your hands. But if you love what you're doing, the practice part of it doesn't become monotonous. So right. That's why passion and obsession become purpose if they're directed in a way that helps other people.
Great. Well, I know you've coached Super Bowl athletes, Olympic athletes. You've had super achievers you've worked with in every field. When it comes to goal setting, what's the difference between them and the average Joe? What do you see?
Not much. Not much difference, except that they have channeled that, and they have decided to become focused in one arena at a time. And otherwise, you become jack of all trades, master of none. I mean, I became a permanent consultant. I was good at a lot of things, but nothing really good at one thing. And until I concentrated, maybe on the psychology of winning, and becoming an audio speaker on tape, and pushing that up to the consciousness, did I ever become successful. But if you can find a team or a coach and a mentor, and you get focused in one area, your expertise grows with that, and you develop focus and discipline around that one thing. People say, well, wait a minute, if you do that, you're just going to be good at that. The great thing about that is when you're successful in one thing, they think you're a success in your whole life, and they give you free tickets when you could afford them. This is what the crazy thing about being really good at something. They give you free tickets when you're making more money than the average Joe. So the thing to do is take one thing and become really good at it, and then people will sponsor you. The other thing, of course, is that when you have a team, when you have comrades, when you have friendly competition like Olympians, or you have to run wind sprints, and you have to compete with one another on the same team, you find yourself helping other people because you're all on the team together. You're not going to beat anyone out of their position, but you're trying to be your best among a fast field. So I think realizing that you're with a team of winners, that you're disciplined by training, and no train, no gain. Super Bowl, Olympic, astronaut, all the same. Rehearse, on the field, simulate, drill, learn the plays. Remember, the next thing you know, it becomes like driving your car or brushing your teeth, second nature. And everyone says, look at that, spontaneous performance. Spontaneity is conditioned reflex.
Right.
You're only spontaneous when you've learned to do it before and you're comfortable doing it. But you don't just do it without learning. So I think the coach, the equipment, the team, the comrades, and the training is everything.
Well, I've done my goals, and I've gone through this great exercise to do my goals. I've laid out all my objectives. I've got my calendar laid out, and I'm ready to go, but I just can't get going. And it goes on for weeks or months, and I just can't get going. And then I'm going to start beating up on myself. How do you get started sometimes when you've got it all laid out in front of you? What's keeping you from getting started, or how do you get started?
You have to find an accountable partner. I mean, who wants to work out when it's cold or rainy? In fact, who wants to work out anyway? But if you've made a commitment to someone else that you're going to meet them at a certain time in a certain place, or you get a few people, and you know there has to be a quorum, in order to get a vote. I actually find 2 or 3 people who are willing to get together once a week, and they keep you honest because you're accountable to one another. So one of the best ways to get started is to make the announcement publicly that you're going to do it, and then have somebody who, instead of trying to say, I knew you couldn't do it, who keeps you saying, come on, you said you're going to do it, I'm going to hold you to it, and we're going to do this together, and to find a buddy and to keep in communication with that buddy on the phone or in person. That's the only way. It's really hard to succeed in isolation anymore. You really have to be a fanatic, obsessed person, and it's more fun to do it with somebody else too.
Well, thank you very much for an outstanding session this morning. Thanks for your time this afternoon.
Thanks, Vic. Great to be with you.